I've never been so excited to eat my words. So, about a month ago now, I released a video titled, "You'll Never See Another Game Like Condemned Criminal Origins," and I meant that. In the era of battle passes and pay-to-win gambling machines disguised as video games being pimped by gormless groomers, I thought art like this was dying. Then, along comes David Szymanski, the developer behind games like Iron Lung, The Pony Factory, and one of my favorite games ever, DUSK. A month after my Condemned video, a demo popped up on Steam for one of David's new games coming down the pike, Butcher's Creek. Right on the game's page, there it is, inspired by classics like Manhunt and Condemned Criminal Origins. I haven't downloaded something this fast since I found special redhead movies on LimeWire. You know what I'm saying. The demo is pretty light on plot, but the Butcher's Creek Steam page states that we're playing as a troubled loner with a hunger for cinematic gore. The loner has heard tell of genuine snuff films being found in a cabin near Butcher's Creek, Pennsylvania, and sets out for some sordid urban exploration. In his quest to sate his unhealthy fascination with violence, the loner is captured by the very group that is indeed creating snuff films in their underground compound. That's about all we know for now, although you can find scattered letters around the compound from various gang members, some written by excited newcomers that had previously been fans of the group, some describing, disgustingly, the method of torture inflicted on a victim. There's also a note that indicates that the game is set in the early 80s, a perfect choice that feeds right into the gritty VHS aesthetic presentation here. In addition to never expecting to see anything like Condemned ever again, I never thought the video nasty style of Manhunt would ever come around again. And it's about time. If you watched my review of Manhunt, you probably heard me ramble about my love for the game's distinct, grimy visual flair. With Butcher's Creek, that style comes ripping back and hard. Environments in the demo are split between the snowy, forested Appalachian exteriors to the inner workings of the concrete compound itself. I love so dearly that despite the tech under the hood, David Szymanski's choice of retro, almost D-make style visuals. With Dusk, it was a charming throwback to masterpieces like Quake, and it worked very well. In Butcher's Creek, this style fits the game's themes perfectly. It's so natural, as if you discovered this old grainy footage yourself. The external set design is naturally spooky, if purposefully nondescript, but the inner layer for the gang of torturers is ultra filthy. You can just imagine the sounds of horror that must echo through these tunnels. Corrosive acid baths where bodies are discarded, prison cages, and the various aftermaths of scenes filmed down here. A mattress soaked in blood with a box cutter nearby, or a grimy shower covered in viscera with a video camera pointed at the action. Ugh. Finding these scenes is horrific and allows your imagination to take you to dark places. Plus, the game cheers you on for taking photos of the grisly scenes. This is where I got the big Manhunt vibe. Brutality and your fascination with it is being celebrated, and the player is being suggested as the creepy voyeur. Enemy designs outside of the Pony Factory tie-dye guy are grounded and nasty, just like the first Manhunt, and I was getting a big bang of the hoods off of these fellas. Flannel, camo jackets, balaclavas, and creepy burlap wimples. The enemy movement animations may seem a bit rigid if you're not familiar with Szymanski games, but this is by design and is in line with the throwback aesthetic that these games take. But don't expect that dynamic, mocap fluidity from Condemned here. And I'm not complaining. As I say, I love this style very much. The striking and blocking animations are all stellar, and sometimes the AI will do things like retreating when they're wounded. But it does appear that, at times, the AI just kind of has the occasional brain fart and stands there gawking at you blankly for a while before re-engaging. And, oddly, despite being captured and stripped bare, our protagonist arrives on scene barefooted already, which could easily be fixed later, of course. The UI is slightly reminiscent of Outlast, but it's stripped back, and without the need for constant battery swapping, thank goodness. But hey, these are just minor quibbles that I bring up, and for a one-man project that apparently may have possibly been restarted at one point, the visuals are shaping up nicely and fit within the nightmare world of David Szymanski's other games. They fit the overall tone of Butcher's Creek marvelously, and I always appreciate when a game doesn't require 600 gigs and a freaking NASA supercomputer to run well. Jesus! Right in line with the gritty 80s visual design inspired by Manhunt, the soundtrack here reminds me of the grungy arrangements in that game, but much more subdued, without the groovy, pulsing beats of Craig Connor's incredible soundtrack. But make no mistake, this is not a knock on Butcher's Creek, it's quite the opposite. The music perfectly complements the hellish situation you found yourself in. The industrial field samples, slowed and warped, along with the strings that drag and creep underneath. They feel like they're rubbing against your bones. It's fantastic, as is the audio design all around. The weapon effects during combat are brutal and pulpy, yet very sharp and visceral. The voice acting is limited to the Snuff Gang, but I swear the actor that does the gang voice acting here is the same guy that did voices for the Influenced and Condemned. The way he curses in combat sounds nearly identical. Hey! Fuck you! But the similarities don't end there. If you've played Condemned recently, and I just so happen to, Butcher's Creek will be easy to pick up. Combat is simple, but surprisingly fun and addicting. Kick to stun, right mouse to parry, left mouse to strike. It feels almost exactly like Condemned, right down to the little clink soundbite with the spark effect when striking and blocking. However, Butcher's Creek ups the ante with the addition of a single stamina bar that is shared over actions like sprinting, striking, blocking, and kicking. It's not complicated, but managing stamina absolutely adds a layer of strategy to combat. Pressing F sends out the mighty foot like Duke Nukem, but sadly, you don't have balls of steel. The kick staggers enemies, or you can kick objects like boxes or steel drums at the enemies to daze them. The loner can also pick up these objects as well, but it's a little unwieldy in tight quarters and really not necessary, as you can throw your weapon as well, a la Condemned 2. Thankfully, you're not required to stack boxes or some tedious busy work like that. Oh, and by the way, broken glass, not kind to bare feet. John McClane taught us that. Weapons have associated values just like in Condemned, to include condition, damage, and speed. The weapons roster includes the gnarly, real-world staples like pipes, pocket knives, box cutters, hatchets, hammers, spanners, and a very special sledgehammer behind a videotape door. The loner can collect VHS tapes around the map. Using one on a TV lets you save, kind of like the save hits from Manhunt. It's tempting to save often because death comes quickly in Butcher's Creek, but there's a trade-off. You gain a greater overall health pool if you carry tapes up to +5, and you can find special locked doors that accept tapes to open, so you need to weigh your choices carefully. This is a brilliant little system, and I'm really curious to see how it shakes out in the final release. In the loner's creepy, voyeuristic style, you can tap Q to pull out your camera to take a photograph. If you capture a murder scene, you'll regain lost HP, and the loner gets awfully excited about his discoveries, which is disturbing. It seems, like Manhunt, we may possibly not be playing as much of a good guy in the traditional sense. Guess we'll see. Additionally, you gain little bites of HP for snapping pics of fresh blood after a combat encounter. It's this addicting gameplay loop, and, like with Manhunt, is possibly celebrating the violence around you, rewarding the player for your interest in this madness. I'm not sure if this is intentional commentary or if I'm reading way too much into it, as I'm prone to do, but the mechanics themselves are brilliant. You can also locate and collect extra nasty Polaroids hidden in the world for bonus health. You can't see what's on them, which is good. It means you have to speculate. Like with Manhunt, your soul feels sullied after playing this demo, like you bathed in grease, and I love it. It's very effective art. There aren't any firearms in this demo, and I'm not certain if they'll be in the final game, but it's also not something I felt was missing, especially with DUSK and the Pony Factory available to us. You can sneak up on enemies, but sadly there aren't any formal executions or stealth mechanics. Yet?
Please! God damn it! I hate this hacker crap!
I'm still working on the Silent Hill 2 remake review, and I have many things to say, and not just about the game. But I had to get this video out ASAP. I haven't felt hype for a game like Butcher's Creek in a long time. As I understand it, this is perhaps more of a little side project for David Szymanski, and maybe not his primary big game focus, which is of course his prerogative, but good lord, I hope that Butcher's Creek gets the proper time and support that it needs to fully realize its potential. And potential is the word here. Butcher's Creek has the making to be a proper successor to Manhunt and Condemned that people like me have been waiting many years for. And I couldn't be more eager to try the full thing. Follow this one closely, boys. And girls. I actually see that girls like my videos now too.
Cool.
Excuse me, but you're spraying everywhere.